Good morning. All right. It's great to be here. First and foremost, would like to thank my wife for being patient enough to listen to rehearsals of this talk. For my kid for doing illustrations for it. You'll see them. And for my mom who actually take over my kids for the time I'm on the conference. Also for my employer, Delivery Hero, for granting me time to be here. So I guess it takes a village to raise a child or to make a talk. Well, with this out of the way, one day, um, in the intersection of technology of liberal arts, we are in this theater, on stage, in the room, and I was thinking to myself, am I a stage manager now? Or assistant of stage manager? Or at least a scene delegate? No, I think I'm just an actor. Any case, one day got this email from Simon. We're interested in your talk. And this talk was rejected at least 5 times from different conferences. So I've been surprised. However, can it be a lightning talk? Lightning talk? Sure. Okay. Let's get some light in the audience. And I want to ask a question. Light in the audience, please? Yes. How many of you are actually writing tests for your code? And I'm no meaning to blame you. Thanks. Keep your heads up. Keep your hands up. How many are you happy with the runtime of them? Okay. Makes sense. Makes sense. Can turn the lights off. In your application, there are some core jobs that it is doing. Login, maybe registration, preferences, home UI, you name it. As every app is different, is growing in the same way, module by module. And as a good engineer, you know that separating responsibilities, building interfaces is good for your app. And at some point, you have multiple teams working on the modules they own. So maybe you have a structure like this, and each module has a separate suite of tests. Over time, you have more and more of them. So it takes a lot of time to run them, right? And you start to think, if the login modules changed, does it make sense to test them all? Because it just really affects login UI. And in the end, it affects the main app. What does this mean? Is it really a good strategy to run tests for all modules when you know that only a subset of them changed? We can actually run kind of 50% less tests and get the same results. Sounds reasonable, but how can we really know that? Well, we can start by looking at the change set. Git can help us here. First step, and in the second step, we can understand the project structure. It can be achieved by just multiple ways, but I still have nightmares about the merge conflicts in the project PBX proj. But it's a format you can parse in any case. And Swift Package Manager also allows to dump the package as a JSON file. Third step, the easiest, just open the scheme or a test plan, disable the targets that you don't want to test or don't need to test at all. And I mean, sounds great, right? But not going to implement it now, I guess, right? Well, there are good news because available today, you have XcodeSelectiveTesting. Woo! Thank you. By the way, please give it a star because it has only like 200 stars, and I see people use it by number of stars or by number of clones. So, what does it bring in practice? So that's our CI pipelines running, and we observe around 50% CI time reduction when using Xcode selective testing. And what this means for engineers to get feedback faster for the change set. As well as that, faster CI run means consuming less natural resources because the CI machines are actual machines running somewhere, consuming actual power. You have to buy them, and so on and so forth. And on engineered computers, it makes running tests faster. It supports XC test, UI test, Swift testing, Xcode projects, SPM packages, and even Linux. You can ask Marcin about it. He's an Linux expert. But it's not all roses. So there are some spikes. Side effects of this we couldn't predict, or I couldn't predict, are code coverage, for example. If you collect the code coverage from your CI runs, this would deviate a lot because sometimes you just don't run some tests. So the coverage reduces, and you just have to collect coverage per module from now on. And the flaky tests sometimes could sneak into your repository. For example, maybe in this login module, you introduce some tests that sometimes succeed, sometimes not. And it happened to succeed when the PR was open. So it got merged, and then you change some low-level module that makes all tests run, and all of a sudden you see tests being flaky here and there. And of course, this is an open source library, so I'm an open source maintainer, and I think it's really awesome to share with the community. But even beyond this, creates unique opportunity to make new friends who can fix your bugs. And let your potential future employer benefit from your code already today. Even appear on stage, right? So go figure. But seriously, I would like to thank all awesome contributors from around the world contributing to Xcode selective testing. Now there's something I want to mention about other solutions. And there is Toist. I love Toist. We actually move our app to Toist now. It's a really awesome tool, and it has a lot of different features beyond selective testing, like binary cache, for instance. But it works in a bit different way. Toist by itself has a way to hash the contents of individual targets, so it can know if they changed. And then when it runs the test, it uploads the metadata to its own server, saying this module in this state succeeded the test run. And in the end, essentially, it doesn't need to rerun the tests. There are downsides, of course. It's a paid solution. You pay per engineer. But I think in the end, it's still worth it as well. This is our CI time on Toist, by the way. So it went from 30 to 8 minutes per pull request. The end? No. Haha. Got you. I think it's kind of clear that selective testing is only possible with modularization, right? Because if you don't have a module structure, you cannot really reason which modules to test, which not. What else does it bring us? Modularization is awesome because it has clear ownership for modules. You also got to think about design of your API between modules. And AI actually can faster reason about your code context, because if you want to change the module, it can only look inside of this module, how it's built, what is the task of this module, why it's important. So I can only recommend thinking about modularization today to benefit from all these things tomorrow. All right, this is the real end slide. Thanks so much.
So I was wondering, like, are there strategies that you can define for how the test should be selected? For example, could you say, I'm okay with being more like lenient if it saves time? Can you do that?
Yeah, there is something called turbo mode, which you can configure through the command line or as a configuration file, which would only run the tests in the modules affected directly and would disregard testing the things depending on them. Because, yeah, you might think that maybe changing behavior of your module would not be affecting its things depending on it as much.
I guess you could consider like running in turbo mode for every commit that you push, and only the full mode when you open the pull request or you change it from like draft to like review time.
That could be a good strategy indeed. Each team should decide for their own what works for them the best and how much budget they have on the CI.
Cool. We got a couple of support questions here. One is, does it support or do you plan on supporting non-SPM based projects as well? One person asking about Bazel and another asking about CocoaPods.
So CocoaPods in the end would generate Xcode project. So this would be supported. Um, it also supports pure Swift packages. So if you just have a package and that's it. And it supports if you have an Xcode project that has local Swift packages. So all those configurations are supported, and working with Swift tests and XC tests both is just fine. With regards to Bazel, I think my understanding is that Bazel is doing its own build pipeline. But once it's built, I assume it still runs Xcode test command. If it's the case, then it would also work because the modifications are made on the test plan, and the test plan can be included in this.
Cool. Um, Another question is the context of your premise when running tests on PRs or when building? And they also ask, have you looked into running tests on a schedule to find the flaky tests?
Very good point. It's both. You can run it on the CI and locally. I think locally, I'm yet to find the most comfortable way for engineers because it's a terminal utility. You can run it before you run tests from the Xcode UI, so it would pre-configure your test plan. And for me, I think ideal way would be to have a deeper integration in the Xcode IDE. But as we all know, it's not as flexible as you might wish it to be. So we'll yet to see the best way to integrate it in the developer workflow.
Cool. And then we have obviously the most impression question from the audience: is your kid available to illustrate more presentations?
Um, I would ask him. I think as a 12-year-old, you could have other focuses in your life than illustrating presentations. But if you have a parent that is annoying enough,
It's a good way to make some extra allowance money. Cool. You got anything else? Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a good day, man.